So to get your name out there when you have a shop, the secret sauce for me always at AMS Performance was you take a platform and you just build the quickest, fastest, most horsepower out of anybody. And then, it's like build it and they will come. So, I applied that to, the new shop, Cannonball Garage. We knew that, the best way to get on the map is to be the fastest, make the most power, set records. It always worked for me in the past. That's what we set out to do. But we don't have a shop car. Obviously McLarens are expensive. We're just kind of starting out here. But luckily, we did have one customer that kind of wanted to have that record under his belt. We had built a 720 for this customer, and it was a stock engine, and we took it to the DCT World Cup. It was a race that I was holding every year in Florida, and he just said, do whatever it takes, like get the record. He's like, I don't care what happens. So we gave it our best shot. We had turbos on it, injectors, intake, these kind of things, all these kind of bolt-ons, and we really threw the beans at it. We're able to run an 8.9 at 162 miles an hour in a stock engine. It was with the clutches slipping in fourth and fifth gear. We were able to claim this mile an hour record by a few miles an hour. So we were pretty happy with that. But in drag racing, what's the most important thing? It's the ET. Like, that's really what matters. So we were happy with the results, but we weren't ecstatic. So getting the car back, we decided, it's probably better to start with a 765. They actually have better gearing in the transmission. The car's a little lighter. Customer was kind of done with his 720, so he's like, yeah, let's do a 765. So he bought a brand new 765, sent it to us. This is like the winter between 21 and 22, I think. We started our CSO, Cannonball Special Operations Engine Program. So this was actually the first engine we were building. And the weakest link on these engines is the connecting rods. At around 700 pound-feet of torque, they can bend, break, give you problems. So we took this brand new 765 apart, simply replaced the connecting rods with some that we had developed, put it together. We got with pure turbo to do some bigger turbos than they had done before. These are still on the stock frame, so that was going to be the limiting factor. But we ended up making 1,300 wheel horsepower, which at the time was sort of the record. I don't know, it's hard to compare dynos to dynos. Someone had made like 1,316 horsepower, but on a hub dyno. We had made 1,312, but on a chassis dyno. So, we're up there. We're up there with the highest horsepower and torque on a McLaren. It ended up doing 1,312 wheel and 936 pound-feet of torque. So, this thing's making some power. But the problem I ran into at AMS, and the problem I was going to run into now, is we built a customer's car. Ultimately, it's his car. He wants to enjoy it. So, it's like every time we want to get the car and take it to the track, it's like, well, it's like, that weekend I want to go to do this, do that. So it took a while for us to even get the car to the track. I don't think we actually got the car to the track until like 2 years after we had built this thing. But finally, we had our opportunity to get it to the track.
We're trying to get the records. This is our MO. We want to be the quickest. We want to be the fastest. We want the most power. We were fortunate enough to have a customer, Wayne, that wanted those same things too. And we built this car for him, 765 LT. Not really made for drag racing. I mean, none of these cars really are. They're road cars. I mean, they're phenomenal driving cars and stuff like that. He has a lot of cars. We built him a lot of cars. He's got a lot of fast cars. However, he's not like us where he's got to go to the drag strip. He's got to get these numbers. He just wants to enjoy the cars, understandable. It'd be much better if we had a shop car. We could, go out, do it on our own time. Wayne's a super nice guy. I mean, he'd lent us his 720. He's like, yeah, just go ahead, take it to World Cup, see what you can do with it. He wanted to chase the record, but he didn't want to do it himself. Understandable. So we had the opportunity finally to take his 765 to the track, and, who's going to drive it? Well, I have the most experience drag racing at the shop, so they're like, all right, you're going to be behind the wheel. So I've driven a lot of cars, a lot of very fast, high horsepower, crazy expensive cars. I've been very fortunate in that respect. However, it's a McLaren. We work on these customer cars all the time. We do have to street drive them, but I'm not out there just beating the crap out of somebody's car. I mean, it's their car. We got to make sure that it's going to go back to them, in the condition they gave it to us, tested, so that they won't have problems. But I'd literally never put a car into launch mode. I've never launched one. There's going to be a learning curve for me too. Car makes the most horsepower. Everything we can throw at it. We bring it out to the track. We get the opportunity. We get out there, and it's a learning curve. It's not as easy as they say. I mean, this record has stood for 3+ years. Nobody's broken it. It's because it takes a lot. There's a lot of effort that goes into it. It's not super quick. We had to beat an 870 something. We needed to go a little bit quicker than that. It's not super quick in the grand scheme of things. However, it's a McLaren. This is a road racing car. It's not a drag racing car. We get out to the track and we're running into some issues. We're trying to figure out, how to make this car go quickly. There's traction control. There's many modes. There's all this different stuff that you need to figure out what works the best. The person that had the record literally had hundreds and hundreds of runs. He has a certain street that he did his 60 to 130s on, and just hundreds of them to get that 60 to 130 record. It's our first time at the track, let's see what it can do. At the end of the day, I learned a lot that day. However, we went back with a 720 with far less horsepower being quicker than the 765 because I couldn't get the job done. We're still learning the car and everything. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. We just couldn't do it that day. A month or so later, we had the opportunity again. There's a private track rental. It's towards the end of the season. Maybe the weather will be okay. Maybe it won't. Maybe it's raining. We don't know. We sign up for the track rental. Wayne lets us borrow his car again. We get out to the track. The first time we went out there, we had 3 cars there, supporting 3 cars, logging 3 cars, trying to figure out 3 cars. This time, just 1, thank goodness. Takes a lot off my plate. There is an extreme amount that goes into getting this car down the track. There's so much to remember and so much to do. I've got to, put it in a certain mode in order to be able to do a burnout. I've got to be able to take it out of that mode, put it into a different mode. I've got to remember to data log. I've got to remember to make sure that, the videos are recording. I've got to get to the line. I've got to put it in a certain way. I've got to put it into launch mode. One thing that we did figure out is we're making so much horsepower now, the transmission doesn't know what to do. It's not programmed to shift fast enough to get us into the next gear. When you put it in launch control, it's going to control things for first gear and second gear. It's going to be able to figure it out. It pulls power back to a reasonable amount where it can accelerate. It'll shift into second gear. If you leave it in automatic mode and try and let it shift, it doesn't do it. Hits the rev limiter, all things freak out, and it's just bad. So I've got to get to the line, I've got to launch it, I've got to let it shift 1, 2, and then after that, I have to shift it. Well, the electronics are slower than, what's going on with the engine. I've got to learn to shift it earlier and earlier and earlier in order to get it to hit that shift prior to, it touching the rev limiter and freaking out. So I'm getting better and better at it. We're going quicker and quicker. At our track, on these track rental days, they usually dedicate the right lane to street tires. Left lane's going to be drag radials and slicks. We're on a drag radial, however, we're in a pretty street car, so, the first time we went, they stuck us over in the street car lane. We could only go as fast as we could. The second outing, we were still in the street car lanes trying to get things dialed in, trying for me to do all the things that I need to do to make this car go fast, and we finally put together a run that is, bottom 9s. We're like, all right, we're almost there. This is going to be it. So we go back to the pits. We're making some adjustments. Each time we're data logging. We're sending the data log to M Engineering, who's supporting us in this. They're sending us back tunes, that are tweaking the shift points or the RPMs, the rev limiter. They're tweaking air fuel ratios, timing, that sort of stuff. We're getting those. We're loading them up. We're trying things out again. We're learning as we're going along. We're bottom 9s. We're finally, made a decent pass. And a couple of Mustang guys come over and they're like, hey, why don't you try the left lane? You got drag radials on there. And I'm like, that's, Nobody's barely racing at this point. It was kind of a crappy day. It was cold. The track really wasn't there. They had done a Mustang race earlier where they were using both lanes, and they're like, listen, we've run both lanes. The left lane is better. Give it a try. So I'm like, all right, yeah, the next round we'll give it a try. We line up. We make the pass, and as soon as I get into like fourth gear, I started cheering. I'm like, yes, we're gonna do it. I just knew that this was finally the run. And we ended up, blasting through the quarter, 860 something at 170 or almost 170 miles an hour. And it was a really, really good run. It came together, and we finally got that record and broke it after 3+ years of somebody having that record.
So it came really late in the season on that last track rental. It was in November. We really lucked out. Last run of the day, we got the record, 861 at 167 miles per hour. We also claimed the 60 to 130 record, 3.38 seconds. And we're really happy because this is what we've been chasing. We knew that this is really what's going to put us on the map, and we finally got it. Unfortunately, we knew the car had more in it, but we missed getting to the line by only a minute. They had shut down because the track temps were getting too cold, and so we did get the record. We know the car's got a little bit more in it, but we know that probably the next thing, we've got the motor program figured out, but we know once we get control of this TCU and the clutch pressures, we're probably going to be scattering transmissions. So we'll just overcome that when we find the next weak link.
When you're buying a pre-owned car, it is critical to get a professional mechanic to inspect it every time. And so the Lemon Squad is the easiest way to do that and the most affordable. Generally within 24 or 48 hours, they can get somebody on site anywhere in the country with their nationwide network of trained professional mechanics that are going to give you a ton of pictures and a full report of exactly what's going on with this car. It's a great way to avoid scams, and it's a great way to get a very clear picture of the car that you're buying, and this ammunition can make you the shrewdest negotiator of all. It also makes the drive home a whole lot easier and keeps a little bit more money in your pocket, and I know that you'll love the results from the Lemon Squad. So check them out now at the link in the description below for a special discount and to make sure that you're buying the car that you think you are.